Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. Our webinar entitled New Year's Resolutions Planning for Success. We're very excited to have Kamara Teo Jones facilitate today's webinar. As you can see on your screen, she has a myriad of credentials. She's a Master's of Social Work, she's a registered social work, she has her BA as well, and she works as part of our mental health team here at the Wellness Institute. She's been in the field for many, many years, about 21 plus years. She's also an instructor at the University of Manitoba, and she's provided mental health services in the region for many programs. And in her current role, she supports clients managing their chronic conditions, promoting healthy behavior change, and also helping people improve their overall healthy living. So she has lots of experience and lots of information, and is well versed in talking about the subject you're about to embark on and listen to here today. So we're very excited about that. I'm Karen Whalen. I'm the host here today. So just a little bit of information for you. As when Kamara will be going through her webinar, if you have a question, that's great. If you can just type in your question onto the screen on the side, and we'll, just to keep with the flow of the webinar, we're going to tackle the questions at the end and have a Q&A at the end of the webinar. So that's how we're going to handle that. And just quickly now, just to give you a little bit of background about the Wellness Institute. Some of you may be aware of us and some of you maybe not, but this is a nice picture of us on a lovely summer day. Looks quite different today outside. So the Wellness Institute, we're a medical fitness facility, and we've been around for quite some time, for approximately 23 years now. And we are, as I said, a medical fitness facility, and our goals and our aims are to help people optimize their well-being wherever they are and whatever they're dealing with, from able-bodied individuals to individuals who may be dealing with a chronic condition. And I think today, New Year's resolution and planning for success, it doesn't matter who you are. I think we all can benefit from hearing about this subject matter, and I'm sure we'll glean some good bits of information that Kamara is going to share with us now. I'll turn things over to her.
Thanks, Karen. Welcome, everyone. So today we're talking about our goals, New Year's resolutions. Maybe it's just for those who have made resolutions, but it's more so for everyone who is willing to try and make a lifestyle change and is hoping to achieve some goals. To do that, you know, we set a plan sometimes. We say we want to try something and we're not sure where to start. When we make decisions to do something new or different, or to make a change in our lives, we get started and it can be quite successful. What happens when we stall or forget or lose interest? That's when we give up, and sometimes we feel a sense of failure or wonder how we can achieve this goal, and often we have no immediate answer. And we can be quite discouraged by all our efforts and the lack of results. And for some of us, we'll get right back on track and keep going, and yet so many give up. Today, you know, you all know what your goals are. If you've already set one, if you haven't set one, you're thinking about it, this is a good place to start. You know, many people talk about quitting smoking or losing weight or just becoming more active, changing the way that we eat, learning a language, etc. Whichever your goal is, this is a good way to start by identifying what it is that you want to do. In today's session, we're going to learn about understanding healthy behavior change, exploring how to create and implement goals, learning how to cope with failure, building support and improving success, and motivation and persistence as life skills. So, healthy behavior change. Oftentimes, it's the same old thinking, with the same old results. If it didn't work for us before, how will repeating the same actions help us to be successful? It likely won't, and we need a new game plan or a new process. And that's where we have to identify change. Change begins with the way that we think about what it is that we want to do. So we're talking about a new mindset, new results. Make it easy, make it small and incremental. It requires work for sure, but not as much as you think when it's simplified. Establish healthy routines by starting small and gradually increasing the change that you want. How do we do that? Learn about what you want to do. This is where you take the time to understand your problems. What brought you to this point of change? How long do you think it's going to take? Why haven't you changed yet? Um, what is it about what you want to do that's challenging? Identify potential barriers to changing the behavior and be honest with yourself. This is a conversation you're having with you. Um, Pen and paper, write it down. Let's take a look at what we want to do. We want to become more active. Well, how can we do that? What do we need to do to become more active, and what kind of time frame are we looking at? So your goal has to be aimed at improving life, right? Adding a healthy behavior or removing and replacing unhealthy behaviors. And a goal without a plan is just a wish. I want to be able to become more active, but how do I do that? And that's where we use SMART goals. And SMART goals, you can look that up online on your own for more information. It's a way to help us stay focused and stay on track. So at the very beginning, right? Let's see, walking. Let's say you want to become more active and you want to walk daily. You can decide that you're going to be walking from home to work, or taking a longer bus stop so that you have more time to walk to work or school. Be clear about your goal. Be clear about your goal. Be clear about what it is that you want to do. Make sure that you understand everything about that goal. What it is that is going to be challenging for you, and what parts of your plans are challenging, easy, etc., so that you can start making more important decisions about what to do next. Make your goal measurable. How will you know that you're working on your goal? Well, if your goal is to become more active, you're going to walk daily. What does that mean in -45 weather, right? When you can't go outdoors and walk because it's just not safe. Does that mean that you're walking in a mall, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, parking farther away from your destination, or taking that bus stop 2 stops ahead so that you can walk a little extra each day? But that means thinking about it in measurable ways. Make it easy, small, and incremental. That's also understanding, what comes next. First, I'm going to do this, and then what? How will you know when it's time to move forward to the next step in your plan? When you can comfortably walk for your set time, let's say it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you feel ready to walk for a longer period of time, for example, or you notice that you're walking longer and longer, you're reaching farther destinations when you're walking outdoors or on a treadmill, right? Track your daily progress. Journal to keep track and identify any patterns, however good or bad. It's important to take a look at everything, right? We don't want to just focus on what's working really well, because what's not working well can actually turn around and become a challenge for us later on. Is your goal achievable? Is it actually attainable and within your reach? For example, what to do in inclement weather, right? We talked about that, mall walking, taking the stairs, etc. What to do if you're not feeling well and you don't want to go out to walk, or you shouldn't because you're under the weather? Is your goal out of reach, or is it below your standards? Is walking not enough for you, right? Sometimes we think, well, we'll start really small and it's too small for us. That's fine. That just means that you need to move a little quickly. You need to adjust your plan to increase your walking so that it's something that's manageable to you. Maybe it's boring to you what you're doing, but that's why we take a look at what's good and what's not so good, what's working and what's not working, so that we can plan ahead. How do you feel about your goal, right? If your goal is to walk more often, Does it make you cringe when you think about having to go outside to walk? If that's the way that you feel, then that's going to affect how motivated you are and how well you stay on track. So be honest with yourself. You know, if it does make you cringe, then what? Then you have to readjust your goal and see if it's something that you should be doing, if you're ready to do it, or if you need more to help you achieve. Realistic. So, is your goal relevant? Is it realistic for you? Does it connect with your skills, your resources, and your personal interests? So, for example, if you're not actually able to go out and walk on ice, expecting you to go out and walk in the winter is going to be a challenge. And that's where using fitness facilities where you can walk indoors on a track, or going to a mall and mall walking, um, taking part in a community resource at a community center to walk indoors would be beneficial to you if that's your goal. If your skills, your resources, and your personal interests don't connect with your goal, that's when you really need to regroup and modify your goal to connect with you and make it relevant in your life. So take a step back for a short time and prepare yourself before you continue with your goal to make sure that you're going to be successful. Is it timely? Create a timeline to accomplish your overall goal and each increment of your goal. So here's the thing about timelines. So many times we set a timeline that is unrealistic. We can't meet it. When we don't meet it, we feel horrible. Timelines should be fluid because life needs to be flexible. Sometimes things happen that we aren't prepared for, and it takes more time for us to overcome that. And that means that our goals have to take a back seat for a moment, and that is life. If you can manage your goal while dealing with significant stress, that's great. And if you can't, it's okay to take a step back, take a rest, take a break. It's what's a necessity for you towards success. And then we talk about failure. And I think that's important for us to be able to discuss today. So many times when we don't succeed, we give up and we walk away. You know, when you look at statistics out there from research, 10 to 20% of us actually achieve our goals. That means 80 to 90% of us aren't achieving our goals. We're failing. We're not doing the very best that we set out to do, right? And so often we get discouraged by that. And so this is about making a lasting life change. It's not a fad. It's not temporary change. It's about becoming a better version of ourselves. And so in order to do that, we need to look at what gets in our way. What are the messages that we have learned about failing? That if we try hard enough, we'll succeed. If we keep at it, it will work out, or we did something and it's wrong, and that's why it didn't work. Well, failure means that we have not succeeded, that our expectations were not met, that we may be punished. You know, that's how we think about it. It has the power to define us. Why do we fear failure? It's because we've been taught to fear it from school, in media. Think about the messages that you've received as a child, as a young adult, throughout your life about failure. You know, does anyone walk up to you and say, it's good, it's all right, it's great? Not really. We get a very different message, that it's so bad. It reminds us that we're not capable and that we cannot achieve our goal. But when we look to failure, failure is a path to success. It's our way of being able to recognize what got in our way and how to overcome it. Think about an Olympic athlete. How many races did they not come in first, second, or third before they were able to get onto the Olympic podium, right? And for you, if walking is your goal for this example, you know, how many times have you tried to go out and just not done it? And that's enough. And then it isn't, because now we have to look at why. What got in the way? Were you tired? Was it timing? Were you not prepared? Was the weather poor? I'm sure there are other external circumstances that prevent you from achieving your goal. And so it's time to start looking at that so we understand it and we can plan for it. So every failure is a step to success. We have to embrace failure. Don't run from it. Plan for it instead. That one moment does not define our worth. Be willing to fail because it helps lessen the power of the word fail. Failure is a reminder that we are actually trying. It's an opportunity to learn about ourselves and our efforts. We can even view it as an opportunity to tweak our efforts in order to improve our success. And sometimes you end up learning, right? Because if you don't do what you're setting out to do, there's an opportunity for you to learn more and improve. Later on, you can move forward knowing that you've grown from that experience. So let's take a chance to reframe, review your plan and the steps that you're doing. Know what is involved in each step, what is getting in your way, what made you skip the walk on that one day than all the others, and then find alternatives. Give them a try, repeat and repeat, and keep trying alternatives until you find something that works well for you. When we set out to achieve a goal, we need support. And so often we will want to be able to do things on our own, and we can, but you need to be able to share that goal with someone. It helps to connect you with others who are working on the same goal, or it might help you connect to someone so that you have accountability, you have support, you're building a cheering squad, basically. They're your personal cheerleaders. Connect with professionals who can help support you on your journey. But try and not do this alone, because it's a team effort to help you make a lifelong life change. Healthy behavior requires a lot of persistence and support and motivation, and you'll be more successful if you can share that journey with someone else. So then we go on to talk about motivation and persistence. What happens when you don't quite feel motivated, or you fall off your plan and you can't seem to get enough willpower to be able to keep going? And that's when you need to look at, the benefits of making this change. Understand your benefits. Understand how it will improve your motivation and promote your commitment to change. What are the benefits of making whatever change it is that you have set out to do? Have you identified this yet? Because you need to buy in. And buying in gives us the reasons that we're doing what we're doing. It gives us the force that pushes us to continue to try and make all our efforts, even though we feel as though things aren't working out. Buying in is our way to remind ourselves of what we're doing. So there's different ways that you can buy in. A lot of people will journal, right? So that they journal their progress, successes, failures, etc. They remind themselves every day that they journal about what's going on and why they're doing this. Some people do vision boards. Vision boards are a great way for you to have a visual understanding of where you want to be and what you're doing to get there. And you can learn more about vision boards online. The premise of that is that you take images from whatever medium. You can cut them out of magazines, draw them, write them down, and you put them on a board in a place that's visible to you daily. Some people do it at the back of their bedroom door, on the inside of a kitchen cabinet, etc. But your visions will be there to remind you. You'll see it in passing without even recognizing it. And over time, you'll see that you're actually getting closer to achieving whatever is on your vision board, as long as you keep working on it. So when we talk about motivation, it is a challenge. It is definitely difficult at times. Nothing of that is easy, but you need to have your reasons for everything that you're doing to make sure that you continue to buy in, that you stay focused on that. What happens if you get tired and you just need a break from it? It's been a challenge for you. You've worked really hard at this life-changing plan and you just need to take a break, right? And everything says, don't take that break, don't get off the bus. You need to stay on that journey. And sometimes we do actually need to take that break, right? Taking that break gives us a chance to refresh ourselves, take that breath and that moment of pause to be able to connect with our thoughts, our emotions, etc. If you're not well or you feel overwhelmed, regroup. Take that break, regroup, and then continue. If you missed the walk because you forgot, then find ways to remind yourself. Try the next time and keep trying. Taking a break helps us regroup, strengthen our efforts, and commit to the cause. At the very end of this journey that you're on with your goals and your plans, etc., the investment that you're making in yourself is important. We all need to remind ourselves why we're doing this and that none of this is going to be easy. So consider that everything that you're planning to do going forward is a step in the right direction. You're trying to make a lasting change for your life, for your future. In order to do that, you need to be able to follow your plan as you see it. Someone can make a plan for you, but you're not buying in. That's their words to you, that's their plan. It takes time to sit down and sit with our emotions, sit with our feelings about what we're doing, the good, the not so good. Understand it. Be mindful about what it is that we want to do and how we're going to do it. Understand what slows you down, understand what fuels you, so that you're prepared to keep going to the future with whatever plan you have in place, right? Follow these steps and hopefully you will be able to continue on your path and do well with whatever you plan. And thank you all for listening today. Now it's an opportunity for you to ask questions.
Well, thank you, Kamara. That was most enlightening, and I know it's sort of inspired me to look at my goals. We have one question here from a listener. Kamara, the question is, if I relapse, how do I get back on track if I set out a goal?
So without knowing exactly what the goal is, if that person is can send in with more specific information, I can give more specific answer. If you relapse, basically take that step back. So let's stick with the goal of walking. Today was a good day to go on a walk and you took a nap instead and you got busy, and the day was over and you're lying in bed going, shoot, I didn't take that walk today. Now what? That's the time to just sit up, take out a pen, paper, and make some notes about what it is that got in the way, right? And understand it truly. Once you understand it, then you're going to be able to say, okay, this I can change or this I can't change. Today I didn't go on the walk because I was really tired. I had a bad night last night, or my neighbor's teenager drum band kept me up for too late and I was just really tired and I needed to rest. Well, okay, so you needed to rest and you got that rest. Tomorrow is a new day. Set a plan for tomorrow. Is this something that's doable tomorrow? Okay, well then let's start again tomorrow and go from there, without being too specific. If this was, let's say, smoking cessation, for example, and you tried to quit smoking and you picked up that cigarette and had another smoke, you've got to recognize what got in the way. Likely there was a period of stress or craving or both that got in the way, and you can definitely manage that with support. So if you fall off that wagon and you want to get back on, look to support, look to understanding what happened, journal, think about it, spend some time with your emotions about it, and then make a plan to get back on track. And sometimes, for smoking cessation, that might mean going to see your doctor to say, I need more support. It might mean starting a patch or a spray to help you manage the addiction. If it's for the walking part, it just means regrouping so that you can continue being successful.
Okay, and I have another question here, Kamara. This person, I'm a pessimistic person. I've failed lots in the past. Is it possible to shake my mindset?
Absolutely. If you are a pessimistic person, that's great because that's a challenge for you already, right? And sometimes there are people who don't know that they're a pessimistic person and they need help to see that so that they can learn about how to overcome that. you need support. If you're pessimistic, you're always going to be looking at things a different way, and you're going to need support to see things differently, to see things in a more meaningful way for yourself. That kind of pessimism can certainly hold you back with your goals because you're always looking to the failure and not completely focusing on the goal. So when we focus on a goal, we want to look at the failure, absolutely, so that we can learn about it and overcome it by using strategies to help us achieve. But if we're pessimistic, we're always going to be looking to the failure that's possible, and we can actually make that happen unwillingly, just do things that make it happen. So you're going to need support to help you change the way that you think. Support's absolutely vital, because if you're not thinking about your goal in meaningful ways, you're more likely to make errors in your judgment that will derail your efforts.
I have one more question here, and it pertains to support, just what you mentioned at the last. And it's what if your partner that you reside with sabotages your efforts all the time? How can you go forward?
Well, that one's a heavy question there. The person that you're living with is supposed to be there to support you, and you grow your lives together. And if that has changed, then that means that your relationship has changed. And so first and foremost, sit down and have some open, honest, healthy communication with your partner. Remember the rules of assertiveness, respect, and see if you can help them understand that you need their support to help you be successful. If that works, that's great. If it doesn't work and your partner continues to derail your efforts, then you need to look at some very difficult choices. And that might mean finding support elsewhere and cutting your partner out of that part of your life, of that goal. So for example, if you decide you want to quit smoking and your partner insists on smoking in the house and it's a challenge for you, then you need to find other ways to not be there with them when they're smoking. Or you might have to consider whether this relationship is what is the best interest in your life at that time. And just remember, when it comes to relationship issues, it's two people. We have two very different paths, and sometimes we walk those paths together and we share in that relationship. But what happens when those paths diverge and they're so far away from each other that we're too far away? We're unable to reconnect, and we've grown too far apart. Is this relationship in your best interest? And that's very difficult. Again, I would go back to support. Consider getting support: counseling, therapy, a friend, a family member, pastor, if you're into faith. Consider getting support to understand what's going on in your relationship and make some decisions about what's in your best interest for your future.
Thanks, Kamara. I have another question from a listener. This person said, I find if I take a break, I would actually enjoy the break and I would not want to start again. Then I'll feel like I'm lazy and I'll beat myself for it. What can I do to get out of that mindset?
Okay, that's a very good question. So when we take a break, it's because we need that break. We're becoming overwhelmed, we're becoming exhausted, and we're getting ready to walk away from this goal. So taking the break is a good way to just take that breath and relax. But if you're seeing that that break is feeling really good, it might be a good indication that your plan is too much, that you've moved ahead too far, that you're not willing to cope with whatever has happened in your plan. And that just means you need to take a step back and look at what was really challenging for you, what was really easy for you, and what goal you set out. If your goal was to do 20 minutes of physical activity, maybe that 20 minutes was too much and it left you depleted. Maybe you didn't have enough energy to get through the rest of your day. Who knows? But you need to take a look at that, because you're going to know for sure what was easy, what worked, and then take a look at what didn't and how that made you feel. Take a look at what you would need to become more successful. And sometimes it isn't about effort. Sometimes it isn't about motivation. Sometimes our goal is too robust and we need to make it small and incremental. So just remember that you might be doing your very best and your goal is just more than you can handle. And that's okay, because there's no shame in that. You want to be active. You can't expect to run a marathon after 1 week of training, right? So you have to take it slow and steady. That's what wins the race. So take a step back. It's okay. Take a breath or a few. Just remember that you will get back on track once your plan is clear and comprehensive.
Thanks. Another question. Um, this individual, I have a hard time when people compliment when I lose weight. Right away, I think, oh, I didn't look good before. I wasn't good enough. Now I'm good. How do I change that way of thinking?
So, great question. That has to do with culture, right? It's in our culture in North America to be able to say, oh my gosh, you look great. You lost all that weight. Absolutely. What were you thinking I looked like before I lost all this weight? That's real. Um, this has to do with your self-identity and your security. If you're secure in who you are and what you're doing, other people's opinions won't have that strong of effect on you. So if you're feeling quite insecure by those statements, you need to look within. Why does that person's voice have so much worth to you? If it's your mother, for example, or your partner that's telling you this, or an ex, of course, all of those, there's power in those relationships, but why do they have so much power over you that they could potentially derail your goals because of how badly you feel? That's where support is important, because you need to be able to understand this. And you can't do that if you're stuck in your own mind and you're thinking in not very helpful ways. Talk to a friend, talk to someone who can help you overcome this challenge. It means that this person has some power over you just by their statements, and you want to take that power back. And to take that power back means to claim that and to own that for yourself, that yeah, you know what, I do look great, and it's because I worked hard, and I looked and felt great before, but now I look and feel better. Right? And you can certainly reframe any negativity into something more meaningful for you and make it your own so that you own it, not the other person saying that. And just remember, when people say that, they're being honest, or they're trying to be kind. They don't recognize often. Sometimes they do, but often they will not recognize that that's going to be so harmful to you. Any goal that you make that has to do with a lifestyle change will show on you as you become more successful. People will see it and they will comment. And it's a great way to maybe just focus on the positives of the comment and ignore the negatives and just say, yeah, I do look great and I worked darn hard to get here.
Tamara, can you recommend a form or a journal or a logbook for someone to monitor progress? That's a listener had that question.
Absolutely. So choice, it's up to you. You can go to the dollar store and get yourself a standard notebook, or you can go all the way out and get yourself a nice premium journal with glitz and glamour and motivational phrases to support you every day. You can go to any stationery store and pick up journals for specific goals, etc. There's so many out there. You can even go online and then order them directly. What's important about journaling is the manner in which you journal. Date, always date. If you're making more than one entry, put the time. Write about how you're feeling, right? A gratitude journal is absolutely great if you're focusing on being thankful. But if you're focusing on a goal, you need to be grateful for what's going on in your life. Recognize where your emotions are that day, right? So talk about that in your journal. How are you feeling today? What's going well? What's not going well? Get to your plan if you want to do that, and talk about, what's really difficult today and why do you think that was difficult, and how are you going to overcome that the next day. What happens when you journal consistently is, over time, you're going to eventually read back your journal notes. And if you're journaling well, you're going to be able to see progress. You're going to have those aha moments where these thoughts, these ideas just pop out at you because you see them in the journal entries over time. You're going to see your growth. You're going to see where you're stuck because it's the same thing that you're saying over and over again. And you're going to recognize, well, this is something I need to work on. Either you can work on that yourself, or you need to go to support professional support, to see a counselor or a therapist, or to friends and family to be able to work on whatever that challenge is that you're stuck on. But absolutely, when it comes to journaling, make it your own. In this day and age, people say, well, I don't want to leave a journal lying around in my house. I have too many people in my home. Journal on your phone. You can go to the notes section on your phone and date it and make your notes right there. It's private, kept for you. And you can keep that running. That way you can do that wherever you are, on the bus, typing privately, as much as that can be private on the bus, in an elevator, of course, in the bathroom, like so many people do. If you're waiting for a doctor's appointment and you have some time, you can put your journal notes down, and it just becomes part of your daily life. And journaling is really important because it's a way for you to clarify your thoughts. It's a way for you to go through and process what's happened in your day in a meaningful way. When we think about it, it's in and out. We think about it and it's gone. But when you journal it, it's there, it's concrete. You can return to it and go, oh gosh, I was feeling really great that day. What went really well and how can I make that happen again? Oh my goodness, I was feeling really horrible that day. What went wrong and how can I make sure to avoid that or to manage that better?
Well, we have time for a couple more questions here. This one is, how does someone know if their goals are unattainable? Is there a point where it's time to just face the fact that it isn't going to happen? This person said, I'm a great procrastinator. Sometimes I avoid the goal and then the day is over.
Right. So this is very much like that previous question about it's just, if you're struggling to achieve your goal, it's unattainable. And that's where we go back in the previous slides, where we talk about, is this actually achievable? Is it aligned with your skills? Is it aligned with your desires? Are you capable of doing this the way that you have set out to do it? So someone will say, I want to lose 20 pounds in 10 days. Well, is that actually doable? With a busy lifestyle, you're going to need to do some serious harm to your health to be able to lose that weight. So if you want to achieve this goal, you need to take a look at that and say, well, no, I think this might be too hard for me. I need to be more realistic. What's a healthy weight loss per week? Or maybe I shouldn't be focused on weight loss. I should be focused on how I feel about myself and how my clothes fit. And that's when I know that I'm achieving my goal. And so sometimes we'll look to our goal and find out that what we think is our goal isn't actually our goal. And that's when you need to revisit the plan. That's why it's so important to always be aware and to journal, because that's when you catch those things and you realize, you know what, this isn't achievable the way I've built it. I need to regroup and redo this. And sometimes support can actually help you tweak your plan to become more attainable, because other people may have gone through what you're going through and have great suggestions for you.
Thanks, Kamara. It looks like we've answered all the questions in the chat box here, and thank you very much for those of you who have listened in today, and you've had some great questions, and thanks, Kamara, for fielding them so well. If you have any additional questions that weren't answered or something comes to mind, please feel free to contact us too. We really truly hope that you enjoyed today's session. I think it seems like many of you got some good information and found it helpful based on your questions. This webinar has been recorded, so you will be sent the link. So if you'd like to watch it again, or perhaps you'd like to share it with a friend or someone who's your support person so they too can hear what Kamara has had to say, we encourage you to do that as well. We have another webinar slated for next month. The date is still to be announced, but it will likely be on women and heart disease, as February is Heart Month. And we really hope you can join us for that one too. And as for now, thanks again, Kamara. It's been a great time spent with you. I know I'm going to go back and look at what kind of life goals I have and do some tweaking and whatnot. And you've definitely acted as a catalyst for myself. So hopefully she's done the same for many of you. So thanks again for joining, and have a lovely afternoon. Take care.
Thank you, Karen. Have a good day.